Testing. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is John McNamara. I'm the superintendent of schools here. I appreciate taking a few minutes with us. We have a handful of people joining us online as well. So thank you for those of you participating from home. We have with us tonight members of our Board of Education. We have our President, Laura Reish, Vice President, Tara Cassidy, Trustees, Jennifer Perfetti, Anthony Greco, and Adam Fisher, as well as members of our district office staff here tonight, Anthony Cedrone, Stephen Moran, Stephanie Scolari. We have Carol Ann Winans, and we have Christine Kim here as well tonight. So thank you all for joining us. This is our third budget forum of 4. We have one more tomorrow morning that we'll be conducting at the public library. This is really just an update at this point for all of the work that we've done so far. Really in preparation for adopting our budget tomorrow evening at our Board of Education meeting, where our board will officially adopt the budget. You can see here are the goals for our budget that we reviewed with you last time. Really the items in here we're excited about. We were able to accomplish the vast majority of the goals that we set out to at the start of the school year. First and foremost, maintaining all of our existing programs. That is always our priority. And then we look to add and improve and create some new opportunities for our students. We're excited this year that we're able to bring our class size down at our elementary schools, add some new program in terms of UPK. We're adding some additional classes there. As long as we get some good news with the state budget, we anticipate that. And then add some new program. We have some new course offerings at Wantagh High School as well as Wantagh Middle School that we're adding. Some upgrades in technology and a focus on cybersecurity, as well as expanding some of our security across the district and some new professional development opportunities as well for our staff. In addition, we received some positive financial news this year. We got really good news in terms of some increased financial aid that we'll get some foundation aid from New York State, and as well as our fiscal stress score, which is greatly improved over the past several years from the State Comptroller's Office. And then good news in the passage of our 2 of our 3 bonds back in December as well. So this is what the budget looks like for this upcoming school year that we'll be asking the board to adopt tomorrow evening. You can see the budget is up slightly from last year. Overall, we have an increase in terms of our tax levy, about 2.57%. We're just under the tax cap. Budget to budget, you can see the increase is about $4.5 million. A big portion of that, though, is an increase in state aid, over $2.5 million of that coming from state aid, and a $1.6 million increase in our tax levy. I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director for Curriculum Instruction, K-12, Carol Ann Winans. She'll walk us through some of our, I referenced earlier, some of our outstanding program, really a focus on some of the achievements that our students had at the secondary level last year.
Good evening. So we have been able to increase opportunity and access for a majority of our high school students to take both our AP courses as well as our college classes. And we are happy to report that we've had 24 AP scholars score a 3 or higher on 3 AP exams, 12 AP scholars with honors score of 3 or higher on 4 AP exams, and 25 AP scholars with distinction score of 3 or higher on 5 or more AP exams, with a total of 61 students achieving these accolades. This has resulted in 83% of the students attending a 4-year college, 8% of the students attending a 2-year college, 7% of the students sought employment in other routes, and 2% attended a trade school. 90% of the students in the class of 2022 took at least one college level or advanced placement courses, which is what we spoke about increasing the opportunity for all students to have access to either college or AP level courses to better prepare them for higher level learning. We're excited for a couple of courses that we're going to be introducing for next year at the middle school and high school level. We are going to introduce drawing and painting at the 8th grade level. To balance off our science sequence that we've been working on for several years, we're going to bring in matter and energy for our 10th grade students who are not yet ready to take chemistry but want to continue on that Regents pathway. This course will allow them to have experience in both the physical sciences to better prepare them for 11th grade Regents experience. We're going to introduce AP Pre-Calculus, which is going to make a more robust calculus program for our students who are trying to take those higher level mathematics classes. For those students who have enjoyed our experience in our car care, we are going to bring into that pathway power sports and equipment repair. We have American pop culture in our social studies, and one of our proudest moments is going to be the expansion of our science research program in the next school year.
Thank you, Caroline. As I mentioned, we are going to look to expand our UPK program, too, at the elementary level. This is be our 3rd year of having UPK next year. We started with 4 sections that we offered a couple of years ago. We expanded to 6 this current year, and we're looking to expand it to 8 next year. That is all through the additional state funding that we anticipate to fund that program. We've had a great partnership with Scope. They've really done a nice job providing that service to our district. And we're going to have 4 classes that we anticipate at Wantagh Elementary School, and then 2 each at Mandalay and at Forest Lake for next year. This is the class size information that I referenced earlier. We were able to reduce class size from where we were this year, down slightly at our elementary. And here you can see where we're projecting to, beyond just, it's one thing to know what the class size guidelines are, another to look at how that really relates across the board. You can see when we apply that, we're going to have reduced class sizes really across all 3 of our buildings for next year. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Moran. He'll speak a little bit about some of our special education highlights and some of our budget drivers there.
Hi, good evening. Some of the great things we were able to do within the special education department this year, we were able to bring in a supervisor of special education. This helped out in a lot of areas regarding teacher development, parent contact, and student interaction. Another thing we brought in this year was the addition of a board-certified behavioral analysis. In the past, we had used a consultant service from various agencies. This time, we have our own person that is able to work throughout the district, and it has been a very successful year working with her so far. We also had talked about last year the partnership with Northwell. We were able to begin that this past February, and we're going to continue to work with them next year. They are currently working with staff, and a lot of the mental health support people in various buildings have been making connections with families and the supportive nature of the program already. So that's off to a good start to help our kids. We've also brought in some professional development to help support our teachers within the ICT program in the secondary schools, and that we're going to continue to bring that model in the future. So obviously, special education is one of the big drivers in this year's budget. One big thing is that there's a lot of students that require additional support from outside agencies, whether it be going through BOCES, itinerant services, related services, speech, language. All of those factors increased this year, and one of the biggest things with that is one-to-one nursing. We have a large number of students that require significant medical attention, so we're actually supporting those students at these various out-of-district placements. And I'm very proud that we're bringing in another group of students into the Mandalay 611 program. We have about 5 to 7 kids coming into the district where In past, they might have gone out of district. We're bringing, I believe it's 5 kindergartners next year and 1 to 2 students that are in higher grades that are currently out of district. And continue with that kind of conversation is the introduction to a life skills lab into the middle school that all students that would require this kind of support will have access to, and would give them experience working in a kitchen model, doing various tasks to kind of support their needs that they might not necessarily learn on their own. And then we're going to continue to focus on the ICT model at the elementary level and the high school and continue to support that reading instruction within special education. Bring Mr. McNamara back up.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. One of the other areas that we focused on this year for the budget was certainly some security enhancements, additional security personnel across the district, an ID badge system at the secondary level that we'll be working on as well. We're doing a number of replacements of doors, exterior doors across the district as well, and replacing some of our older security camera equipment. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cedrone. He's going to talk to you a little bit about some of the capital projects that we're working on across the district, as we have a separate proposition for capital improvements as well.
So you may recall when we went through the bond process that the funding sources were, some items were in the bond, some would be paid for through capital reserve, and some would be in the budget. So with the bond stuff behind us, we're now in that phase where, as money is available through the reserve, additional capital projects will be requested to be completed, as well as there are some masonry work actually included in the budget itself. This list of capital projects that's here will be on a separate proposition in May. It's set aside in the capital reserve, which means that the money is there and available, and it's already been set aside. So once the purposes are identified, you still need community approval to access that money, but it doesn't have any impact on the budget or the tax cap. And the projects you can see as listed there: roof replacements at the high school, middle school, Wantagh L, the slate roof, athletic field scoreboard, door replacements, as was mentioned throughout, some HVAC work in the main gym at Wantagh High School, masonry work district-wide, and hallway ceiling and light replacements in the middle school. In case you don't believe me, that's what it looks like. So this is the legalese that you'll actually see on the proposition. So it's wordy because it needs to be, and it describes what we're doing and what we're requesting, and all of the projects that were 2 slides ago on a bulleted list are here just listed out. As I mentioned, what's on top in bold and underlined is that the money's already set aside. It's in the capital reserve, so we're asking for approval to spend it, but the money is already there and it would not have any additional budget or tax levy impact. I feel like I should be quizzing you guys on what this is at this point. This slide lists our fund balance and reserves. As listed, they're mostly self-explanatory. They're used for the items that are stated there: workers' compensation, repair reserve, retirement contributions, employee benefits, which is pays for contractual payout of sick days and leave days when people retire, capital improvements, as was mentioned, and you can see the balance in there. It's projected to be about $3.7 million. That's prior to receiving the approval in May for that other list, which was about $3 million. So there would still be a slightly over $700,000 balance in that reserve. And again, that's projected as of right now. We would be in June. Unemployment, and then the undesignated reserve. This list is important in the sense that all of these items, think of them as shock absorbers, right? Having money in these reserves for those particular items means the budget doesn't need to take a hit when you have a good year or a bad year in any one of those particular categories. It's impossible as we stand here to project in next year's budget how many people are going to get hurt next year and what that's going to cost, right? So the budget stays stable, you set the money aside, and then you absorb those hits as they come in any of those particular categories. Directly related to the amount of money in those reserves and the total fund balance is the fiscal stress score, which, as Mr. McNamara mentioned, has seen a very drastic improvement. And they look at the items on the bottom left: fund balance, operating deficits, cash position, and reliance on short-term borrowing. So the better your cash and reserve and fund balance position is, the lower your score. And you can see on the right-hand side there how our score was in good shape, went up as was planned a little bit, and then has certainly come back down to a very good spot. These are the major drivers that are pushing up next year's budget. It's what's causing the increase. Health insurance has gone up about 25% in the last 2 years. This year alone was 17% going into next budget year. That equates to $1.5 million. It's the single largest item on that list on the screen. Special education, that $828,000 were all of the items that, as were mentioned by Mr. Moran, that's just it quantified. Negotiated salary increases for all the district contracts. You know, it's a people-intensive business to run a school district, so that $1.3 million is to cover salary increases. ERS is the Employees Retirement System, $176,000. That is for employees, custodians, clerical staff, aides, monitors, and the like. They're in the Employees Retirement System. That bill is going up $176,000. The retirement system bills are unfortunately, I guess depends on where you are in the cycle, right now unfortunately tied to the stock market. So next year I would expect the ERS is going to be replaced with TRS, and we'll see a similar happening with an increase, but for now we'll deal with ERS. Mostly insurance on the next line, $106,000. Premiums, insurance companies getting hit with a whole host of things, you know, weather events that they're covering and all that kind of stuff. The district's own experience is driving insurance rates up. And technology, most of that is, there is a Mac lab that's slated to be replaced in the budget. Most of that is network security and the like, and testing our network, make sure we stay on top of everything that we need to stay on top of, and doing some of that work in there. And transportation for $126,000 increase. This is just a visual. This is just the dollar premium for family coverage that's offered as a health insurance plan, and over the last 2 years has gone up 27.6%. State aid, as was mentioned, we saw a big increase in state aid this year, about $2.6 million, so the total is just shy of 22. It's $21.9 million, which is included in the budget for next year, which represents 25% of the entire budget. That $2.6 million is offsetting a large chunk of the other budget drivers that we are experiencing. We're past April 1st now, so up in Albany, they're still trying to hammer out a budget deal. They're at the point now where with Passover Easter recess upon them, they'll probably just pass a budget extender to pay state employees and reconvene when they come back from recess. So I wouldn't anticipate getting any news, short of them doing something in the next 48 hours, probably until mid-April at this point. Staffing, back to you. Oh, staffing.
Good evening, everyone. So in terms of staffing, as you can see from this chart, the staff accounts for about 75% of the budget. We are an organization of people that provide programs and services and to our students, and that's the driving force of our budget. This is a large spreadsheet, district-wide, broken down by each department, and there's also a 16-year change from one year to the next. I will show you on the next slide. Our enrollment has gone down since 2000, 2001, but if you see since 2017, we've been pretty steady, and there's a steady for those past couple of years. So we did have a big bulge in 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then about 2013, it started coming back down, and we've been stable over the last 6 or 7 years. So this just shows our enrollment has gone down, but so has the number of staff members since 2008, 2009 school year. And again, over the past couple of years, it's been steady enrollment, and we've been afforded the opportunity with that to include full-day kindergarten, STEAM program, expanding course offerings, college programs, additional E&L services, special education services, as well as the science research expansion. And now, Mr. McNamara, to wrap it all up.
Thank you, Mr. Cedrone and Dr. Scolari. Just to sum things up, we're fortunate this year in the sense that we can really maintain all of our existing programs and really have some nice adds as well. You can see although there were some significant drivers in the budget, we were able to really offset those with those increases that you saw in state aid. One thing we always want to avoid is a contingency budget. That would mean a reduction of about $1.6 million from our current budget. And there would be about $400,000 in there of mandatory cuts where we wouldn't have a choice. The rest would come from program. I want to thank everyone that took an opportunity to fill out our budget survey. We had a few dozen people that filled out the survey. One of the main questions that we asked in that survey was what your priority was within our budget. And you can see the priorities really did line up very nicely with many of the things that we were able to achieve. The number one ranked item was reducing class size across the district. That's something we're able to accomplish here. Adding some mental health support for students and expanding elective course offerings. Those were really the top three. So fortunately, we were able to accomplish much of this in terms of priorities for the community as well. All of the slides for this evening, as well as all the recordings of these presentations, is located right on our district website. You can go right to our budget page. There's a link to that right off our main page, and all of the budget detail is located there. So please, I encourage everyone to take a look. This is our second to last forum. The next forum will be tomorrow morning. It'll take place at the public library. If you're unable to join us for the evening presentations, hopefully you can join us for the morning presentation tomorrow morning. And this is when our budget vote will take place, Thursday, May 16th. It'll be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., and it will be at each one of our elementary schools where it traditionally is. And we'll turn it over to any questions that our public may have. Anne-Marie. Yeah, so the question is about, just for those listening at home, 3 people at home, is about the Northwell program, so I'll let Mr. Moran answer that.
There's actually a couple different things that Northwell provides. One, it provides professional development for our buildings and our teachers. It's also going to be, the community members are going to start getting information via email, and there'll be information posted on our website to kind of pinpoint needs that are directly impacting their families. And then also it's a referral process. So if there's a student that might be in crisis, may need immediate attention, instead of going to, say, Cohen's emergency room, they have the ability to go into a walk-in center. It's like a regular doctor's office, but there's a significant amount of mental health support staff, and then they help with continuing care. So if it's somebody that needs regular visits with a therapist, they'll help match somebody with the family's insurance. No, it's both, yep. There have. Yep.
All right, thank everyone for attending online tonight and for the public that joined us in person, and we will see you hopefully at our next forum.